Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here at VDS, moderating this panel hosted by Endeavor Spain. So for those of you that don't know what Endeavor is, we are the global community of, for, and by high-impact entrepreneurs, those who dream big, scale fast, and reinvest their success in the next generation. So today I have two rock stars of the Endeavor network, both Endeavor entrepreneurs and both Endeavor board members. So Sergio Furio, founder of Creditas, Brazilian unicorn, one of the biggest fintechs in LATAM. He's also a partner at Actius, a 60 million fund that invests in fintechs globally, so take note if you have a fintech. And Pablo Fernandez, a co-founder of Clickers, by the way, one of the biggest exits in Spain, Clicalia, Clidrive, and a long list of Clees. He's also one of the most active angel investors in our country, with more than 80 investments in other startups. So as you can see, both have built outstanding companies, but more importantly, they have chosen to give back to the ecosystems that once supported them. So the title of this session says it all: dream big, scale fast, reinvest your success. And that's what we're gonna talk about over the next 20 minutes. We're gonna walk through that journey, from the spark of ambition to the reality of scaling fast, and then the impact of reinvesting your success in the next generation. So let's start from the beginning. Ambition, craziness. When did you guys, this question is for both of you. When did you guys realize not only that you wanted to start your own company, but that you wanted to do something really big? How does that?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Paloma, for the very kind words. So probably the journey of the entrepreneur starts thinking much smaller than what you expected, and probably that's because human beings, we tend to overestimate what we can achieve in the short term, and then completely, grossly underestimate what you can do in the very long term. I remember doing the first pitch decks, and I think that I've always been missing my budgets for the next 1, 2, 3 years, and have been always underestimating what we could do in the very long term, 10, 12, 13 years in the making, as Creditas is. So when I was living in New York, I moved to Sao Paulo, to Brazil, because I saw that it was like a huge market where we could disrupt the distribution channel. We can put the mobile at the center of the relationship with the customer. And initially the company was a marketplace to put banks on one side and customers on the other. And 2 years on the making, we realized, and that's the tipping point probably, that the opportunity was much bigger, that we could build something really, really meaningful that changed the life of millions. And that's the point in which the purpose becomes at the center of your relationship with the customers, with your employees, with yourself. And then you start believing and understanding that you can do great things in this life, and there's nothing that can stop you. And it's all about like resilience and making sure that you wake up every day thinking about what can you do next, and how can you improve the world.
And risk-taking, right?
Risk-taking is always there. There's no risk, no reward. I mean, I'm in banking. I've been in banking for the last 25 years. And at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you understand. Sometimes people say, no, I'm afraid to take in risk. Then you are afraid of taking also benefits, because there's not such a thing as big opportunities if you don't take risks.
What about you, Pablo?
No, I think in my case, and I think in the case of many entrepreneurs, it's about the role models, the people that you surround with. So I went very young to the US. I went to New York, and I surrounded by very successful entrepreneurs. So I remember I was the head of a strategy for Santander Bank in the US, and Santander has 200,000 employees, but there's only one employee who is a self-made billionaire, right? And it's a guy who had Santander bought his company, for more than $1 billion. And I remember this guy walking into the meetings with no ties, just saying what he thinks, doing amazing things, and he was doing like car financing, right? And when we are in Spain, so and that was back in the days, like 15 years ago, we have no unicorns, we have no reference, and I think going outside of your comfort zone, surrounded yourself always like try to be the fullest person in the table, right? And try to, and I think at Endeavor that's what to do. Like you think you are doing very well, but then you go to a meeting and oh shit, there's a guy who's going faster, doing better. So that was what happened. In my case, I did the due diligence when I was at Santander of Carvana that we were going to buy the company, and then I saw there was these guys from Stanford trying to sell cars online. It was a crazy idea at the moment. Now the company is 80 billion valuation. And I said, oh, there's nobody doing this in Europe. So I quit my job and I went back to Europe to launch Clickcars, who became the largest used car e-commerce platform in Spain with 370 million euros and 700 employees in 5 years. But even those figures, they seem to me high. But then again, you look at other scale-ups like Creditas, and it's like, oh shit, I have to do better. So this is what keep me motivated to on the next one now with Clidrive to try to increase the time horizon, think long-term, try to build something for the future. And as Sergio says, something that changed and has to do with the reinvest your success. No, it's not only about you, like how much did you raise, what is the valuation, what is your net worth. It's not a selfish thing, no, but it's what's the impact that you're making in the world, right? And thinking long-term about what's the mission. What I think starting a company is one of the best things that you can do to change the world. And if you surround yourself with great people, I think you can make a great impact, no? And I think this is amazing, no? So.
Totally. It's funny, you both have mentioned like going abroad at some point, and like that was very eye-opener, no? My question is now, do you think ambition is something cultural, or that culture shapes the way we dream big? That Latins have different ways, like compared to Americans, for instance? That do you think it's cultural, or just like it depends on how?
It goes back to what Pablo was saying about who is your reference and what are you comparing to against. I mean, this thing about comparisons is something that we think it is very healthy. It's like in sports. I mean, sports are an opportunity for another human being to make you better and to make you like stronger, to wake up earlier, to work harder, and so on. And I think that this is something very well recognized in the US. I don't think that is that much about the culture of enhancing the mistakes, but it's more about this ambition to become better and better and better on the positive side. In Spain and Latin America, I wouldn't say that we are completely against that. And actually, if you think about it, we have like a long-standing tradition in being risk takers, starting with the Capitulación de Santa Fe back in 1492 when the kings of Spain appointed in a venture capital transaction Christopher Columbus to go in a venture. Christopher Columbus was taking 10% of the venture. And now we are thinking, Spain, are we taking enough risks? We have like a track record on risk-taking and very successful risk-taking. So it's a moment in which definitely like countries like Spain, where obviously you have like a decent size, 40 million population plus and so on, but still there's like a world outside with 8 billion people. How can we think bolder? How can we think stronger? We have a track record. Obviously, I'm talking about like 600 years ago, but you can also think about like the Spanish banks, BBVA making their money in Mexico, Santander being the king in Brazil. So many things that can inspire us. And Pablo was mentioning unicorns. Sometimes it's not that much about valuation, but about people that have a mentality of really thinking globally, conquering the world, becoming better every single day.
Yeah, I think that the ambition, there's two components. One is the size, so try to think bigger, and then the other is like, what do you want to achieve, right? So I think the bigger, I think things have changed in Spain, and we think bigger, no? There's companies that are started from here, but They're started internationally from day one, and they also capital raising has changed. Like when I started with Clickars 10 years ago, there's always like a couple of VCs with 100 million assets under management, and today you have billions, and also foreign companies that are investing directly in Spain. So I think now it's more about the ambition in the sense of not just trying to have an exit or to make money, but also to change the world, right? So that we show to the world that entrepreneurship is not about only business, right? Business is a tool. The business is a tool to change the world, to improve people's lives, and create like a broader societal effect. No? At the end, I mean, in my personal case, I always study with scholarships. So I think it's very important that we reinvest, but I understand that those scholarships were paid by successful entrepreneurs who pay their taxes, no? And I think we need to give value to entrepreneurs in this company. What happens sometimes in Spain is that if you are an entrepreneur that is losing money and you are going from event to event crying, people like you, right? Because but then when you start making money and you become like a successful business person, it's like, okay, we don't like it. So I think we still have to change. And going back to the reference and to the studying abroad or working abroad, I remember when I was in the US, like people have an admiration to success, right? And sometimes in Europe, we don't have an admiration to success, and that has to do with the aristocratic aspect of wealth. Like half of the billionaires, more than half of the billionaires in Europe are inheritance. In the US, is 70% is self-made. In China, it's almost 90%. So I think our country, Spain and Europe, we need more self-made entrepreneurs so people can admire that.
Totally agree. So we all agree ambition is the spark, but then execution is everything, no? That's what actually turns the business into reality. So let's move forward to that part of scaling fast, no? So was there, I mean, there was, but what was the pivotal point that unlocked the growth of your companies? You can, Pablo, you can choose whatever company you want out of your many, many ventures, but for Clickars or...
I mean, in the case of Clickars, in 1 year, we went from 100 people to 700 people, and from 50 million to almost 300 million. So it was like a hyper growth. And again, it's like, I think I prefer to go fast and break things and then stop than trying to be a melt. But I think this is go as fast. I mean, break China, like they say in English, because if you don't break, you don't know how fast could you go. But there's also unintended consequence to excessive growth, right? So, but the reality is, I don't think there is like a rule, because all entrepreneurs, we make constantly a lot of mistakes. We grow too fast, then we go slow, then we focus on profitability, then we go back to growth. I think you need to have like a huge flexibility. And just in my experience, I think the more important is the agility, to being able to know that at any moment in time, your company can die. I think it was the other day, Microsoft CEO, he was saying that Microsoft could collapse in a few years. So that's the mentality, that no matter how big you are, how small you are always constantly obsessed with dying and trying to constantly move farther. And one thing that I would say is sometimes it's good to step back, because when you are in your company all in, like executing the strategy, sometimes you are blind. So having networks like Endeavor or organizations where you can step out from your company, take fresh air, discuss your idea with other entrepreneurs, that can help you to take perspective on things and come back to your company to continue executing.
Yeah, so in my case, in Creditas, I mean, sometimes it's a KPI or a metric, but in our case, it was more like a fact. We pivoted the model from working 4 for the banking industry to competing against the banking industry and partnering with fixed income investors. So that migration in the model, that first home equity loan that was done in 2016, April 2016, 4 years after founding the company. So think about like, you know, the long journeys. I mean, we had like 4 years working until we finally did one transaction. And then we looked at that transaction and said, well, we're into something. The company had at that point only, I think it was like 40 employees, 50 employees, something like that. But you really saw that the power of what you were doing and how big it could become. And again, going back to Endeavor, I arrived to Sao Paulo not knowing anyone. Endeavor embraced me at that point. And for 4 years, the fight and the mentorships were all about, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I don't know what the angle can be so that I can untap a really big market. There were like so many players doing marketplaces, and none of them were really scaling. Why is it that Creditas was going to be different? And in reality, it was about like making that transition from partnering to competing against the incumbents, and that was really a game changer.
Amazing. So, as you were saying, scaling fast means learning fast. So would you tell us or share with the audience one mistake that taught you a lasting lesson?
In my case, I think it's connected to what I just said. When you have a business that has a B2B approach and the B that you have at the other end of the table is a big player, someone that is, you know, orders of magnitude bigger than you, you start like creating dependencies on your business model, and they have like just like doing this, they can make you disappear. So that dependency, that created a very significant risk. And actually the reason why we made that pivot was because the largest bank in the country that we were working for, they had like a change in the executive director of business unit X. And then with that, they decided that we were not relevant anymore, and they wanted to do like internally. So then from one day to the other, you know, the 50 people that I had like completely dedicated to that were out of business. So, you know, like having those things, you need to be very careful with those dependencies, finding mitigating factors. What would you do next if your thought about it? Now I'm thinking about it all the time.
So I would say 2 mistakes. One mistake is regarding the team. So one mistake is that you are in love with your early employees because they helped you to get from 0 to 1. But many times those are not the employees that are going to help you to 1 to 10, and the one that helped you to. So understanding those transitions and be more rational and not emotional about it. Because I let many employees fail because they couldn't transition to the next steps. That's one thing. And also in leadership, sometimes it's in my experience, it's better to prepare. It's like a soccer team. You can spend 100 million hiring a star, or you can have your own soccer school, no, and build that. Sometimes you cannot grow your team as fast, and you need to hire. But I think a balance between self-promotion and external hires, and also if you hire stars, don't pay them too much salary, like put them on equity, because and be careful with that. And the other mistake is, I remember there was a moment in my industry where many of the peers were fundraising a lot of money. I could not fundraise because I already sold the company and I have an earn-out period I couldn't raise. But everybody was like, it was a craziness where valuations were not on bottom line, were based on vanity metrics like number of cards or revenues. Everybody was like losing money and growing crazy. And sometimes don't let the trend or the fat of the market chase you. So at the end, a business is about having happy customers, delivering value and making money. And sometimes the market, the investors, they can lead you to the wrong direction. And there are many startups who have very good entrepreneurs, but it's like, no, it's about growth. No, we're burning money, but it's okay. And then the market changes, and then you're fucked, no? So I'm not saying not to do that, because sometimes you have to do it, and many companies have done this and then pivot and go back to healthy, profitable growth. But basically, the idea is more startups die for suicides than homicides, no? So don't look too much outside on the market, like focus on your business, control your KPIs, your metrics, everything, be obsessed about it and not be obsessed about the market or your competition as much.
So yeah, don't follow the hypes or yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's move to the next block, like why you guys reinvest your success. Because once you've built something big, as you guys said before, your success becomes something more than personal. No, the business transcends the person, and it becomes a responsibility. So I would like to understand what drives you to reinvest your time and your capital in others.
I think that the beep was because of timing. So I will try to be short and sweet.
Was that in my head? No.
So I think the reason is there has been like so many people that has helped us over the years in doing things that you really feel that you can help like a bunch of people in doing their own businesses and so on. So I think it's the more altruistic maybe. But then there's like a second one in which I always believe that there needs to be like something about you in which you are learning. And every time that someone comes and asks you a question, it's an invitation to learn about the business that they have and so on. I think that has been always super important in the investment side, in the mentorships with Endeavor, every time that I have like a relation with an entrepreneur. So please ask questions to everyone that has like around you. They love to respond to those questions because they invite them to think.
You always say, no, talk to people, you're gonna learn a lot, no? Even if you are the big fish, no, in the mentoring. And you, Pablo?
Yeah. So I think there's people think about altruistic, like give back, and I like to think more about, I think there's also like selfish interest, right? Meaning when you invest in someone else or you have conversations, you always learn. And I think many of the best deals and relationships that I have in my life came after decades, right? So my experience is sometimes we are very short-term in transactional, like I give this, what do I get? And sometimes you need to have like a long-term horizon and thinking, okay, maybe I give back to this and maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago, I will get something in return. But sometimes when you are scaling your business, sometimes your mentality is like, look, they ask you, okay, go to this event from this and this. I don't have time, I have to focus on this. And that's true. There are some entrepreneurs who are always like going from event to event, and that's bad. But I think there's a balance, no? I don't know what the percentage, 90, 10%, wherever. But I think you have to. It's good to be out from your company sometimes, take some fresh air, talk to people. So in my case, investing and mentoring other people it gives me perspective, and you always get ideas. And by the way, it's not you go to an event thinking that you are going to or you are going to give a mentorship to someone, and then you end up meeting someone that mentors you, or you learn something interesting, and then you apply to your business. So the net effect is really it's really positive, no?
Okay, so we're running out of time, but I want this last question. Please don't kill me, VDS organizers. What's one piece of advice that you would give, not to the entrepreneur that is starting, but to the one that is in like that hyper growth phase? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I think it's probably the English concept of grit, really having the mindset of I want to win this and want to work as much as I can to make this successful. That is very relevant. Keeping the energy high. That's the reason why companies go bust when energy goes low. So your mindset is critical, and then long-term thinking, super important.
Yeah, and I would say there's at the beginning of a company, it's all or nothing. So you have to be fully dedicated, fully obsessed. But there's a point when you scale up, you already have a team, you're either profitable or you have more capital. You still have to work very hard, but think a long-term horizon. This is a marathon. And sometimes you need to take mental breaks. It could be sports, meditation, whatever. So take care of yourself also. because this is a long-term race, and if you get burned out, you're not going to be helping your company.
Thank you so much, Sergio, Pablo, for sharing your journeys and for embodying what it means to be a successful entrepreneur in the most complete sense of the term, no? Giving back and being such a reference for the rest of entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you.